The idea of the Blue Ridge Parkway is not just about the road itself, but the landscape that it travels through.
Most people don't realize it. Parkway is a designed landscape, and so one of the big concerns was that visitors not just drive through 470 miles of trees. As the land was acquired for the Blue Ridge Parkway, they began to think about how to manage the landscape and how to incorporate different visual elements of the parkway. One of the visual elements that was incorporated in the Blue Ridge Parkway was this agricultural leasing program.
The original ideas to establish the parkway in the 1930s, a central concern, particularly among the local people of North Carolina and Virginia, was how was this going to impact their ability to pursue the livelihood that in some cases they would have been pursuing for generations in these areas. So very early on in the planning, the idea was set in place that when appropriate and in areas that could facilitate it, there would be certain pieces of federal land that could be leased to local farmers and local cattle raisers or other herdsmen so that they could continue to pursue those livelihoods.
My father was here and had the lease. It's probably been my father had the lease probably 10 years, and we had cattle in together, and I've had it the rest of the time. So I've had cattle up here at least 15 years myself.
And so as land was acquired for the parkway, it was leased back to neighboring farmers. The leasing program incorporates a number of important visual elements. It incorporates the rail fences, the scenic views, the weathered barns, cattle grazing along the parkway. And so this was all part of this designed and built by Stanley Abbott, the park's first landscape architect. So we have about 150 individual permit holders. Some of those may have just one lease, some of them have multiple leases. The leases range for anywhere from 1/4 acre garden plots up to, I believe our largest single permit is about 100 acres around Trout Lake there on the Moses Cone Estate. They average about 10 or 12 acres in size. We have about 400 total permits up and down the parkway, about 3,500 acres total, and that includes about half of it is hay fields, and the other half is predominantly pasture land. Less than 3% these days are row crops, unfortunately, and that's one of those things that's kind of gone away. The Blue Ridge Parkway has the most permits probably of any national park in the country. There are certainly parks out west that have more acreage in grazing allotments, but we probably have more permits than any other national park in the country. We are required by Congress to charge a fee for the use of the parkway lands, and so we do charge $20 an acre per year. They're generally permitted to have the cattle in the leases from May 1st until the end of October.
And so the area that I have leased now is probably about 70 acres. I'll have about 20 head up here all summer, and they'll calve, and I'll have this summer I have mine calving year round, but I'll probably have 10 more, so I'll have about 30 head on this mountain up here. And they look like they're satisfied and happy right here right now. Just let them go, and they've had all their shots and everything. And if cows come towards you, just raise your hands up and kind of scare them away, or at least keep you a stick with you or something, and they won't bother you if you don't bother them.
We do have several leases that we are actually managing for grassland, things like grassland birds, and so we work with our leaseholders to delay their mowing of the hay until after some of the breeding is complete. And rugged, the topsoils are very shallow, and so we see a lot of overgrazing and a lot of erosion that occurs during the winter months. And so, removing the cattle helps eliminate some of that. And a lot of our leases are fairly small, and so they're too small to rotate the cattle. And so, again, that's another way to kind of get the cows and give off the land for a little short period of time and give the land a period of rest.
it's a huge job to keep the fence up. It really is, because you're kind of fencing in the edge of the woods, the wood line, and it just depends on how the winters are up here. And it takes 2 or 3 days to get around this fence and keep it patched up and repaired.
It really has become a beef and grass operation, you know, in this area of Western Virginia and Western North Carolina. And so, you know, most of the crops that we do have are either corn, again, supporting the cattle, or, you know, we have some scattered cabbage in Virginia. Sometimes I rotate with pumpkins, but predominantly it's cabbage, corn, and pumpkins.
One of the really nice things about the agricultural leases along the Blue Ridge Parkway is they provide a very scenic, bucolic vista for visitors to enjoy. The idea of the agricultural lease system was to have these plots of land along or adjacent to the parkway itself where local people could run cattle, could grow hay, could pursue their agricultural practices that they had done in the past. In addition to pursuing that livelihood, it retains that cultural and historical resource for the visitors of the Parkway to see. And certainly part of what's being celebrated here is this rich history of agriculture in this rugged landscape to provide visitors an idea of what sustainable agriculture can look like in this setting.